Hey guys, how you doing? I know it's been a couple of weeks since my first little video. It's been really busy and stuff recently. So I thought I'd just give you a quick little look at the pond. Just doing a quick filter clean at the minute, and I've brought a new auto feeder for the pond, which I've actually had to do a modification to, because the amount of food that it just throws in the pond, it literally covers the pond with a ridiculous amount of food. The only way I can see anyone using this is if they've got an actual fishing lake and they're trying to feed their fish with it. But it was quite cheap, you know, it was cheap enough. Little modification inside, which seems to have solved the problem. Got a decent measure of food now, and if I need to increase it, I can just increase the time that it runs for. So that seems to be working quite well. And then I'm going to take you over to the greenhouse and show you my little setup there. Actually, I'll take you over now. So this is the greenhouse, as you can see. So in here we have got some small fish. Probably not going to be able to see them, to be fair. What I'll do is I'll just sort of talk you through it, and then I'll take some bits apart. So we've just got this little filter box here, which is not what it says on the front. I've turned this into like a moving bed filter. This is a shower filter, but I'll put a bit of media in the top, which is filthy and I need to clean. And then here is just another little pressure filter, which comes straight off the pump. Most of the dirt goes into that pressure filter there, and then we take that away. So to get to that, I take all these these bits of plastic out the front. This is a drain off from the main drain off the bottom of the tank and off the pressure filter. So when I turn that to clean, I can just drain it straight out the bottom there. So that's all gravy, baby. This is my self-built control system with a digital temperature gauge in there. In here, we're not actually got a proper like inline heater. Basically what we're running on is 2 aquarium heaters. There's one, and this is the second one here. And so basically these two were controlling to the same temperature, but they were a degree out on each other. So now these two are now wired into this heater control here, which is set to 24, and as you can see it's at 26.1 due to the heat. This is my new water purifier that we purchased recently, that we use to top up all the water. A little air pump, and then I just hand feed these when I've got a minute. So let me strip some things apart. Take some windows out of the greenhouse. I'll take this out, and then hopefully we can get a bit more light in there and maybe see some fish. So I'll be right back. Right, so guys, this is obviously windows are out. Just reach in here, twist this round, put it on clean. Just put it on clean for now. See, teed in at that pipe down there, comes out. Little valve here, we'll turn this in a moment, and then I'll drop it down the drain over there. There's also another valve, lever valve under here on the IBC, which I open up. So basically what this is an IBC. Cut the middle section out. I've left the 2 edges on here, so I can insulate that basically. And obviously I didn't want too much heat coming out over winter. I've got some Plexo pieces of glass, which are here, which then basically just fit in around this pipe and over the top of there to stop any excess heat coming out. It's all insulated, as you can see at the back there. As you can see at the back there, we've got it's wrapped in a tin foil wrap. Then there's a 50mm polystyrene from top to bottom, and then obviously we've got the ply around it, little ply box around it. Polystyrene on the top here, wrapped all the way back round to here as well. Wrapped all the way back. There's wrapping underneath there, so it's completely wrapped in that tin foil wrapping, and it does hold the heat. I mean, so the heat has been disconnected for a couple of days. There's had a failure on another tank in the garage with one of these controllers, so I took the controller out of there. This is that controller that failed. So the heaters are not currently connected, and as you can see, it's holding the heat well. It's heated up today to 26 degrees. So yeah, then we come around here, we just slide this window down, and as you can see here, this is where I've turned it into a moving bed. So it comes up and into the filter, around the filter, foam filter, out of there, up into here, as you can see, barbling away quite nicely, and then out of there and into here, which is my little shower filter. So it goes into there. There's more media in the bottom of there, So yeah, it just comes out of there, goes down the media, back into the tank. So as you can probably have noticed, I've got some KH plus there. That's to help boost my KH, because in here when I'm feeding heavy, it does like to eat a lot of KH. And I have a similar issue in the big tank as well, because I do feed them quite a lot, as you can probably tell by the state of this water in here. So I need to do a bit of a water change. They do get fed quite a lot of food. But yeah, so this is the first little project. This is not quite how it started. I'll go and get the tub and sort of explain how I got into this and how it evolved into this here. Right, so this is actually how it started. So this is like a 250 litre, I don't know what you'd call it. I've seen them use them as mortar things on building sites before. So these are usually filled up full of mortar, and then they fork it up into a, you know, some scaffold and the brickies, get all their mortar out of it. So this is about, I think it's about 250 litres in here. And basically what happened was, brought 4 fish from a place last year, and one of the fish actually started to develop quite a lot of illnesses. When I got him home, I realised he had a little bit of carp pox on him, so sort of put a bit of treatment in for that, and then that just led from one thing to another to another to another. So eventually I decided, you know what, time to get him out of the pond, because at that point I only had the pond, and I decided it was time to get him out of the pond and get him into something else so I can sort of quarantine him off. So that's where I brought his tank. We brought a little pump, and we had the shower. We only had the shower filter at that point, which had the white shower filter, and there used to be a bit of foam in the top, so I used the foam to catch dirt, any debris that came through, and then the media in the bottom, which I actually took out the bin filter, so it was already matured media to try and help them come round. And then obviously bought this tank, bought an aquarium heater, stuck an aquarium heater in it. As you can see by the tape, it once had some polystyrene strapped around it to help hold the heat in. Then this here is the grate that I had over the top so you can jump out, which also had more polystyrene on it. And if you can see underneath there, I'm not sure if you can see that, that used to have a 2-inch ball valve on it, so I could do a drain from the bottom basically. So that is now my junkyard that I use as storage. So there's just a 2-inch hole there basically. And yeah, and that's sort of how it started. Unfortunately, actually lost that fish. Unfortunately, he died, and then the other 2 fish, one of the fish, the other 3 fish, one of the big one, he stayed in the pond, and the 2 little ones I decided to put in this tank to see how well they'd grow. You know, I thought we'll put them in here and we'd see what happens. I also went up to Quinny Koi and brought a couple of Deutsch koi, which I've now got in a different tank, which I'll show you in another video. Just to experiment with them really. Never had a Deutsch fish before, not really my thing, not really into them, but I wanted to sort of experiment and see the difference in growth, and just generally the difference in, you know, if I could do it, how well I was going to do it. They were just some cheap fish from Quinny Koi just to experiment with really. The 2 that started off in here originally, they are now back in the pond. Big Betty and her sister, which are the 2 big orange ones in the pond. So we've got the Hyosuri, I think it is, and then I don't really know what the other one is. The other one's an orange and silver one. Don't really know what type of fish that one is. So they started off in here, and then obviously very quickly outgrew this. Problem being, by the time they'd outgrew this, it was sort of November time, I think it was, and my pond was very cold. This was at 25 degrees, couldn't really put them back in there. So then that is when we jumped to this, and brought an IBC, which didn't fit down the side of my house, so I actually had to carry it over the top of the garage. Cleared out my greenhouse where I had, not a lot, but I tried to grow some plants last year. It didn't really go very well. Yeah, cleared out my greenhouse and stuck it in my greenhouse, insulated it, stuck them in here, and then they grew, well, even bigger to the size that they are now, which maybe we might be able to get them on here. Let's see if we can get them on. Oh, there's one. So that one there and this one here are the two fish. This is my little chagor here, look. He's a good old boy. But yeah, them two big orange ones just there, they're the two fish that I started to grow with. Basically that one and that one, when the chagor gets out of the way. I'll just give him a little bit of food. So as I said earlier in the video, this is my new automatic feeder. Thought I'd go for this one because it had a solar, but it does chuck out a hell of a lot of food. A hell of a lot of food. So there is a little modification in there. Next time I empty it, or should I say when they empty it, which won't be too much longer, I'll show you inside the little modification I make in case you decide to buy the exact same one. I'll just go find the pond. Okay, so the one for the pond, which is that one, just let me move that one. Just there is the All Pond Solution solar panel feeder, the SFF-1. Up to 3 months on a single charge from the solar panel. Feeds 6 times a day, I believe. I'm pretty sure it was 6. It's not going to tell us. Oh, it don't want to tell us. Oh yes, there you go. Sees up 6 times a day, and basically how it works. Oh, there goes me. Oh, there goes me other box. So basically how it works is it works on a time. You set a timer for how long you want it to spin for. It does throw the food quite far, to be fair. It does throw it. I mean, it currently sits there and it throws some pellets up onto here. So it does throw the food quite far, probably about 1 meter, to be fair. It doesn't say on here what its specifications are. Well, it holds 6 litres of food, 3 to 10 mil pellets, feeds up to 1 to 6 times a day. So I currently have it feeding, I think it's 3 times a day, because the pond's only really just warmed up. So I want to have a quick look at the pond temperature there. So the pond temperature, I don't know if you can see that, that's 22.1 degrees, because, well, it's Friday and we've just had a very hot sunny day. And like I say, I wouldn't really recommend that auto feeder, to be fair. If you've already brought one, then I've got a little modification for you that you can try. It's a little bit of fiddling around to get the right size hole to try and reduce the feed, so that you know, so instead of it just sitting on the shelf in the garage, if you have brought it already and you experienced like me, you came home from work one day and there was 10 ton of wasted food on top of the pond that the fish weren't eating, because it seems to feed enough food to feed a whole army. Then I've got a little solution for you. It sort of helps out, sort of reduces it, and then if we find it at a later date, because our fish have got a lot bigger and our ponds have got a little bit bigger, we need it to feed more, then we can just up the time that it runs for, i.e. chucking more food in. So I have it set for like 1 second or whatever it is. It doesn't spin for very long at all. But it does still chuck quite a bit of food, but nowhere near as much as it did before. So then on my other tank in the garage, I have this auto feeder, which I brought from Quinny-Coy, I believe, if I can remember correctly. I think it was Quinny-Coy, which, yeah, it's not a bad auto feeder, to be fair. So this started off on the IBC, feeding up these 2 big fish, and then it's now currently in the garage on the bigger tank, feeding the bigger fish. This is not a bad auto feeder, to be fair. I've not had many problems with it, apart from when the batteries get low, it keeps jamming itself up, and then it just keeps coming up with error. It doesn't actually tell you what the error is or that the batteries are low. It just seems to jam itself up when the batteries get a little bit too low. So what I've actually done, because it comes with a 12 volt, it comes with a mains charger, but it's a European mains charger, not a UK mains charger. So I've got a little adapter, and I've actually plugged it in because it's currently in the garage. And since I've plugged it in, I've not had a problem with it jamming up at all. It works fine. You can feed up to 6 times a day. You can actually feed a decent amount of food with this. So you have, I think it's settings from 1 to 8, and that's a different amount of food. I'm currently on 2, 6 times a day in the garage. But it's a decent amount of food. So if you haven't got a massive pond where you need to feed a whole army of fish, this would definitely be you know, an auto feeder that I would recommend. Unfortunately, it's not got a solar panel on the top and it doesn't charge its own battery. Bit of a downside to there, but you know, you can put batteries in it. I can't remember what batteries go in it. The big batteries go in it, whatever they are, can't remember. That can feed up to 60. I'll just show you this will make more sense to you guys. There you go. If you want to read it, there you go. That's what it does. It only holds 5 litres of food instead of 6, but you know, it does the job and it works well for a, you know, for a cheap auto feeder for your pond, or for, you know, a tank that you've got with fish in it. Yeah, I'd highly recommend that one. It's not a bad little auto feeder. It's quite cheap. I think it was about 60 quid when I brought it. This one was 70 quid. But yeah, well, that's auto feeders for you, isn't it? That's enough about auto feeders, really. I think I've sort of gone through everything over here, really. Oh, right. No, too much glare still. Can't quite see them. I'll tell you what, I'll fold this back and I'll just dunk you on. Right, so I just gave you a good shake. I hope you can hear me now. So that's the fish in the tank. Unfortunately, there's a bit too much glare on the top, not making it easy to see. So I can't remember what's in here actually, to be fair. There is a Deutsch one in here, which is a silver and orange one. There's a complete orange one in here. There's a silver one. They're the first one. They're two actually. The first fish I ever, koi fish that I ever brought from a local garden centre up near, well, little local pond shop up near me. And then there's a grey chagoy in here, which is my work colleagues. Another Hayat in here, which is also my work colleagues. And then there's also a Yamabuki in there, I think, which is also his, which I'm growing on. They're very small at the moment, and then I'm working on growing them on for him over the winter sort of thing, really, and they'll go in his pond next year. At some point they'll come out here and go into the bigger one when they're big enough. But yeah, that's basically in here, really. This is basically just a moving bed. I've just used a pipe, comes all the way down to the bottom, drilled loads of holes in it, put loads of moving media in, extended the top one a little bit. So other than this picture, obviously, pointing this picture, you probably couldn't even see it. Other than this picture, it's basically exactly the same. Pipe from the bottom all the way up, a bit higher, comes along into a T, loads of holes in here, and then there's just an air stone in here that runs here, runs down, around. It's a little you know, pressure reducing valve, lever, whatever you want to call it there. Little T-piece off the pump there, so we've got some oxygen going into the pond there, as you can see. And then I just run it off this little pump, which is just a little 1800 pump there. These are doing me all right. They're not for everyone. People will probably say, you know, got a better air pump on there, but you know, it seems to work, and it seems to be working fine for me at the minute. You know, every time I do an oxygen test in here, it's 8. Every time I do one in the pond, 8. Every time I do one in the tank, also 8. So yeah, not too bad at all. So some of you might have actually spotted, just remembering. We'll go back over to the pond so you've got something to look at. Some of you eagle-eyed people might have just actually spotted in there, behind that blue tub that I just showed you, was a towel. Now that towel is actually covering something that I'm planning on doing a little build video on, for the tank that's actually in the garage that, yet again, you haven't quite seen yet. So So yeah, once I get around to it, and all them boxes on the side, they're all to do with it as well. So once I get around to getting a spare 5 minutes and doing a bit of work on it, then obviously that's what I'll be doing. This orange and black one, actually, I had to get him or her, I'm not sure if it's him or her yet, I haven't worked that out yet. We call her Big Betty. So yeah, this one here, it's actually got a little cut just under her chin. Never sedated a fish before, so I actually had to get her out earlier in the week. Got home from work, Mrs. says Big Betty's got a hole under her chin. Not quite a hole, but it is a little cut, and it is quite sore, and it was bugging her a little bit. She's gonna show us? Oh no, not gonna show us. So yeah, I actually had to get her out, bowl her up and sedate her, which I've never done before. So I was actually quite nervous about doing that, because that is my best fish, really. That one and that one, and my jaguar. They're three of my best fish so far. So yeah, I was very concerned about getting her out and doing it, but actually it turned out to be quite alright. So yeah, got her out, rolled her over, cleaned up the wound a little bit, and put some tramadine on it. Something like that. Put some of that on it, and yeah, she seems to be doing a lot better since. I think might get her out again maybe the end of next week and have another look, and if I can be brave enough to try and record it, I might try and record that for you, and you guys can tell me what I'm doing wrong. But yeah, she seems to be alright. She seems to be quite happy munching away. You can probably see I've added an extra air pump, extra air line here to the pond to add a bit more oxygen into the water, because the temperatures are coming up. So just adding a little bit extra there. Right, I think that's it for this one, and I'll do something else next time. Alright, cheers guys.